One of the most popular female saints in the church is Saint Therese of Lisieux, Saint Therese of the Child Jesus, a Carmelite nun who died only in 1897, rather recently, and she only lived 24 years. She was rather unknown during her life, but after she died, her life story, which she was commanded to write by one of her blood sisters, who was also her superior in the Carmelite convent, caught on. Many people throughout the world read it, and the ideas that she put into that life story, a story of praise of God, really became well known throughout the whole world. Saint Therese of Lisieux is known as the Little Flower. She once said about herself, "Of all the flowers in God's beautiful garden, I'm just a little flower." But you'd have to know that she meant that God made all the flowers to be wonderful. And even though she saw herself as not being quite as colorful or as large, perhaps, as some of the other flowers, some of the other people in the world, she knew that God cared for her. She had a great sense that God guided her and guarded her throughout her life. Her parents were holy people, Louis and Zélie Martin. They now are saints with her, canonized saints of heaven. Her mother, unfortunately, died when she was quite young, and that was a great loss for her. She was a person who saw life through very rose-colored glasses in many ways, but she also suffered a lot. She also had to see her older sisters go off to the Carmelite convent, and she grieved their going. At a certain point in her life, she could see that her father was losing his mental abilities, and that was a great sadness for her. So in all the things that happened to her, things not that different from what have happened to a lot of other people, she was able to say, "Lord, I'm yours. Lord, you're in charge. You're guiding us." And though she experienced great loss, she always had faith. She had a sense of humble life and ordinary life as being a gateway to closeness to God. She came up with what was called the little way. She said, "I can't do all the great things that I see other people doing." And then she said, "I'm a cloistered Carmelite nun. I can't go far, but I can join myself to the work of the church." And she said, "I can't be somebody who has the arms and the legs of a great missionary or people who do things that I can't do, but I know what I can do." She said, "If the church is like a body which has arms and legs and great minds and so forth and spokespeople," she said, "I will be like the heart of the church." And she said, in the heart of the church, a symbol of love and earnest prayer, in the heart of the church, I will be love. What she meant by that is she would love and pray for many people. And she certainly did that with great faith. Therese of Lisieux entered the Carmelite convent at 15 and died there at 24. Sometimes people think of her as somebody who was always saying sweet things, and indeed much of her writing is very, very hopeful and positive. But at the end of her life, she came to experience pangs of challenge to her faith. She was so sick with tuberculosis, and it was very, very difficult for her. But in the midst of that, where she was tempted not to believe in God or in heaven, she drew upon her deeper faith that had been with her much longer than the more recent temptations against faith. And she recommitted herself to the Lord, and she said, "Lord, I believe in you." So she let a river of faith well from deep within her, and it overpowered whatever tendencies against faith were tempting her as she experienced great physical suffering. In that way, she is a model for us. She is a model of faith, but she's also a model of wrestling with challenges to faith. And that's a pretty great combination. Therese of Lisieux, as we think of you holding roses, a sign of your love for us and your being a flower in God's garden, and as we think of you holding the cross of Christ, help us to have something of the confidence that you were able to muster, even in the midst of your trials of faith. The window in honor of Saint Therese of Lisieux, the little flower, is given in memory of Mr. and Mrs. James Walsh.